Namaskar. I welcome you all to my English YouTube channel, The Life and Economics. Today I will discuss about one of the most important topic that has triggered a lot of debate, controversy in India. That is the use of word act of God by Honorable Finance Minister. Everybody knows that during last 41st GST Council meeting, many state government demanded the GST compensation as per rule framed by central government while implementing GST. But this year center is expressed inability to pay GST compensation because its inability to raise resources or garner adequate resources by through of GST cess. But it is when central government has made commitment, it's a responsibility to pay state. So in order to avoid responsibility or evade truth or hooding the states, Honorable Finance Minister invoked the name of God. She told that Corona pandemic is the act of God, as pandemic has led to the contraction of economic activities leading to decline of resources. Here certain question arises in our mind. If this is the act of God, then which is not the act of God? But if government achieves something or anything is achieved by government, then it is celebrated, with pomp and grandeur, it make a huge publicity in media, so many slogans. Then why at that time ruling class or government never tells that it is also act of God? So in the name of God, government should not shift responsibility or should not make a God as scapegoat, because it is easy to make anyone scapegoat. Because in the time of a crisis, in the time of pandemic, government has got a bigger role to play. It cannot evade responsibility by citing the act of God. God never does harm to anybody or not harm to any society. It is human being that destroy, devastate nature, bring miseries to people, it suppress the decent, it decimates the voiceless, it exploits them. A human being exploit another human being. God never exploit anybody. So question does not arise any shifting blame or blaming God or making the God as scapegoat. Government must have to come with responsibility, so should take step. Now important thing is that has not ruling class any contribution to economic crisis, always has not it failed miserably to control the corona pandemic? Let us first discuss about corona pandemic. No doubt it was originated in China, but it is not proved who is created, whether China created or anybody created, but it was originated because any disease can originate in any country, any crisis can start from any country. Most of the global crisis has originated in the USA. Nobody tells about this. So it has not been proved yet who created it. But when it was created and first coronavirus infection was found in India in January 31st in Kerala. At that time, government did not take appropriate step, did not try to prevent it spreading. Rather, it went for horse trading. Rather, it celebrated Namaste Truck program. That led to spreading. Similarly, Trump became so much arrogant that he thought that he is most powerful person of this world, so coronavirus cannot touch their country. America is paying heavy price for its arrogance. We are paying heavy price for our negligence. But our ruling class resorted to lockdown when it resorted, when state started, and without giving any times to people, sudden lockdown. Then after shifting lockdown, economy was totally destroyed, devastated. Then people with infection allowed to move one place to another place, because people who were staying in different places, the factory where they were working, their owner did not pay. Government, respective state government did not take care of them. So people moved from one place to another and spread the virus infection. Had we have a planned lockdown, then we could have prevented. Now another question is that India had the most stringent lockdown, 100% lockdown. Other countries have not such stringent lockdown. But we had a stringent lockdown, economy collapsed, but our infection is spreading faster than any country in the world. How it is contradictory? When lockdown is more stringent, how the infection is spreading faster than any country? Is it not the failure of ruling classes? That need to be analyzed, discussed. In May, we were 10th position in the world in terms of infection. Now we have already crossed Brazil and second positions. Already we have crossed 42 lakh infection and death is more than around 71,000. Government is telling that we have low fatality. But what about the death of more than 71,000 people? What about their family? What is their experience? How mental agony, anguish, excruciating experience their family had to go? That is must cripple the mind of every person, and the government should be worried about this, not about fatality. Even we are low fatality rate, it is not because of our better health expenditure. Our health is most privatized health sector. Our health expenditure is one of the lowest in the world. Our health sector is totally devastated, decrepit, and very weak in comparison to other countries. Because we are having a hot climate, because people have better immune system, because majority of our youth, that is why we have low fatality rate. But question is that such in big country, if there is every day now around 80 to 90 lakh to 1 lakh, 90,000 to 1 lakh people suffer from infection, even low fatality, how many people die? So why God is unkind to India? That is the question. Why India has so many infection in comparison to other? Even the disease which was originated in China, it has around only 87,000 infection. That is the biggest question need to be analyzed. Government should answer. We cannot shift the responsibility just in the name that corona pandemic is an act of God. Now important question arises. Why our economy is devastated? No doubt every country is suffering. Growth is declining, undoubtedly. But our growth is decline of growth or contraction of growth. Why is it worse in all countries, in all major economics? While our GDP growth has declined by 23.9% in the April-June quarter, the decline is 9.1% in the USA, and in other countries, other major economics are behind us. Their contraction is less than India. Our gross value added has declined 22%, around 22%. GDP in market price or current value has declined by around 20%. Corporate sector who were given huge concession in the name of better investment, their returns or their revenues has declined more than 24%. That is a question why when China has experienced a positive growth, 2% growth, our growth is contracted by 23.9%. One may say that China had a negative growth in the previous quarter. It has negative growth around 6.1%. But still, even if we take into consideration 6.1% negative, they have positive 3.2%. So it is around maybe negative if it is considered, then around 3%. But our negative growth, one of the most considered as most country having highest growth has a highest contraction. Is not policy of ruling class is responsible for such huge contraction? We know that supply is disrupted, demand is compressed due to coronavirus. People are unable to move, so economic activities has been contracted due to coronavirus. Government went on addressing the supply side to publicize that it has given 21 lakh crore package. But actually, fiscal outgo is around 2 lakh crores only. Not 10% GDP, it is around just marginally higher than 1% of GDP. Reserve Bank went on reducing interest rate and infusing liquidity, which has no meaning when there is no demand, no investment will come, no corporation will, no company will invest because there is no demand, nobody is here to purchase. But it went on infusing liquidity, but nobody is there to take credit uptake did not rise. It reduced the interest from since February, interest rate has been reduced by 1.15%. But this has reduced to deposit rate, so it has led to financial repression. People depending upon savings have been affected, so their consumption is affected, but it did not spur any demand, but it did not lead to rise of corporate investment. So publicity made only out of package. The declaration of package was just to make publicity that the government is giving 20 lakh crore package, but actually it did not help. So it needs introspection. We cannot shift the responsibility to act of God. Government needs introspection of why Indian growth contracted so much, and particularly Indian economy was in a crisis. It was in doldrums. It was slowing down before the corona afflicting the Indian economy. And this is because due to draconian demonetization and defective GST, faulty implementation of GST. GST is one of the most complex, or it is a complexity imposed by another name. It was celebrated with fanfare when it was introduced, but it proved so complex. Even World Bank has told it. Demonetization steps taken without consulting RBI, even Finance Ministry, to curb black money, to curb cash, to curb corruption. But what has happened? It devastated the economy. During the demonetization, economy has not growth has not affected. Job has been squeezed. 5 million job has been lost due to demonetization. GST aggravated further. Poorly planned lockdown further aggravated the situation. So we cannot shift, government cannot shift the total failure to the act of God. What was before the corona situation of economy? India had witnessed unemployment rate that is 6.1% in 2017-18, which was 45 years high. India witnessed first time in history the decline of employment by 9 million or 90 lakhs from 2011-12 till 2017-18. Rupee depreciated around 24% since 2014. Consumer spending was 4-decade low. Economic growth declined and it reached 4.2% in 2019, which is 11-year low. How it is happened? In 2019-20, only 7 days of lockdown is taken into consideration. So how economic growth was declined to 4.2%, and in that quarter, in January to March, economic growth was only 3.1%. It is not that economic growth is has not declined only after Corona. It is slowdown is since for a long time. From January, March 2018, the quarterly growth rate was 8.2%. In April, June 2018, it declined to 7.1%. Again, in next quarter, growth declined to 6.2%. In next quarter, growth declined to 5.6%. Then it was nearly 5.7%. Then again it declined to 5.2%. Then it declined to 4.4%. Then it declined to 4.1%. And finally 3.1% in January-March quarter, then contracting by 23.9%, which is a record in Indian history. In past only 4 times there was a negative growth, and this is all due to certain reason. Similarly, growth rate has also, in the last 4 years, it has been declined. This year 4.2, 2019-20 it is 4.2, previous year was 6.1, then next previous year was 6.6. Even it has declined from 8%. So already in the last few years, already there is slowdown. Growth was slowing down, job was squeezed, inflation was rising, but ruling class did not try to solve it, rather try to win the popularity or political debate by evoking the emotional issue. So now people are paying heavy price. Job and livelihood lost. Then how people will survive? Our chief economy advisor says that it is a V-shaped recovery. There will be V-shaped recovery. That means economy declining rapidly, then it will rise suddenly. But actually some say it is L-shaped recovery. That means economy decline, and then there will be no further decline, and it will continue in the same process. But actually it is a K-shaped recovery. K-shaped recovery means those who are well up, they will rise. Those who are not well up or are languishing under poverty or starvation, their economic position will start declining. Certain section will have more benefit, certain section, majority section will lose more. That is K-shaped. A ruling class should think of the lower section of the society, vulnerable section of society. It should not side those who are having a better life. Government has got a responsibility, not the 30 crore people. Government has a responsibility for the 130 crore people. Already ILO report has ILO and Asian Development Bank has reported that the job loss will be among the youth will be 6.1 million. Already Center for Monitoring Indian Economy has reported that 1.8 crore salary class have lost a job. This is the things needs to be introspected. What is important thing is that whenever we have growth, we are employment elasticity is very poor. It was 0.4% in 2019. It has declined less than 0.2%. That means 1% of growth was leading to 0.4% of employment. Now it is leading to same growth is leading to only 0.2% of employment. So growth, employment elasticity when declining, further declining growth means crores of people have lost jobs, crores of people have been pushed into poverty, and as percent of GDP, automatically tax will be, revenue generation will decline, government activities will come, economic debt will rise, deficit will rise, economy will drag into debt trap, but there is no concern. When ruling class is yet to admit its failure, it is yet to take the help of economists or other opposition. It is time that opposition's ruling class or should think they should relinquish their political ambition. Few days back, probably President of BJP has told that people of Odisha should vote them. Is it time to win election? Is it time to publicize for election when human survival is at stake? Nobody knows what is ever happening in future. Nobody knows who will be infected, who will be not be infected, who will survive after infection, who will succumb to infection. Even many great people are also dying. Many doctors are collapsing. In uncertain positions, the arrogance of power, greedy for power, wealth, publicity has not declined. Human behavior has not changed. Arrogance is as usual. Greedy is as usual. Jealousy, arrogance, vindictiveness, meanness, all these things have not declined despite the there is a questioning to the survival of a human being. That is the biggest challenge, biggest problems, biggest matter of concern. Those who think of the society, who think of the human being, who think about the development of a country. The question is here, has the government, whether this government or previous government, had taken steps to ameliorate the condition of the masses? Never. We were celebrating when there was high growth, but we have never tried that whether growth is benefiting to the poorer section of the society, whether growth is equitable, whether this growth is consumption-led growth and debt-induced growth, but burden of debt had fallen on the poorer section of society, while the richer section has accumulated a huge wealth. When people are languishing under poverty, economy crumbling, how the wealth of Oman is increasing? It has increased to around $22 billion in the 1 year. How it is possible? Why they are not paying taxes at a higher rate for the development of society when there is no taxation? Question is why Indian tax GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world. It is around 10%, which has reduced to 9.8% in 2018-19, 19-20, and from 11.22% from 2016-17. In other countries, tax GDP ratio is more than twice of what India has. The highest income tax in many countries is much higher than us. They have wealth tax, inheritance tax, they have other tax, they generate resources spent on among the people live happily, spend more, but neither we tax the rich, not we generate the resources, nor we spend for the masses. So who will speak for the voice of voiceless? Who will think of the masses? Who will care those people who have succumbed to those 70, more than 70,000 people succumbed, and who will think about their family? Is it can it thought as act of God, and government can evade responsibility? That needs to be questioned. Why 1% of the population has garnered the wealth of 3/4 for wealth that 95 crore people have? That is the question. 1% has wealth is around 4 times the wealth of 95 crore peoples. Who has led to this rampant inequality? Has God led to this rampant inequality? That needs to be answered. Where we are telling that we are having the highest growth, but how many benefited have been growth? Has growth become inclusive? In nominal GDP, India occupies 139th position. That means behind 138 countries. Even in purchasing power parity, India is 115th position. That means behind the 114th positions. That is needs to be answered. In all other index, why India is behind the other countries? Why God is unkind to India? Why is it the act of God that India should be behind all other countries, or should be abysmally placed in all other economic indicators? Let us analyze some indicators. What is the India's positions? India's position is, let us think, in World Press Index, India occupies 140 position. That means behind 139 countries. India is the most dangerous country for women. Women are paid around 32% less wages, and most dangerous country for women, it is according to the Thomson Reuters report. In World University ranking, India is 172 position, that is behind 171 countries. In global democracy, India is 51 position. Last year it was 41, declined by 10 slot, and India is described as a flawed democracy. Flawed, that is defective democracy. In other global hunger index, India has occupied 102 position, that is behind 101 countries, and its position is declining. In global peace index, India is 141 positions, that means behind 120 countries. In world inequality index, India is 147 position, that means behind 146 countries. In world happiness index, out of 156 countries, India is 140 at a 40 place, that means behind 139 countries. In world development index, India is out of 180 countries, India occupies 129 place, that is behind 128 countries. In prosperity index, India is at 104 out of 149 countries, that means India is behind 103 countries. In global gender gap, India is at 108 position out of 144 nations, that means behind 107 countries. Even gender equity index, India is around 129 place, that is behind 128 countries. Still 30 crores people suffer from extreme poverty before corona pandemic. 8 crores people are unable to sustain their life, or that is they survive in just below poverty line. Below poverty line just amount to sustain life. Around 19.44 crores people, more than this, go to bed empty stomach. Around 1.7 million people are homeless. Around 1.8 crore people are in modern slavery. Then such is the plight of Indians, who will think of this? Who will speak up about this? If anybody come forward and speak about this voiceless, vulnerable section society, hatred is created against him, he is blamed in society, he is treated as a negative personality, then who will tell about such peoples? Is it not the responsibility of government? Is it not the responsibility of the state? Is it not the responsibility of intellectual? Is it not the responsibility of wealthy people to think this vulnerable of the section of the society? When death is inevitable, it is not a duty of others to see that these people flourish. One may lead a luxurious life, but one should not find it difficulty to sustain his life. Whenever government float any scheme, there is so much publicity, so much media publicity that a great thing achieved. Whoever become prime minister, there will be around more than 30 lakh crores budget. There will be some schemes, but question is, as percentage of GDP, our budgetary expenditure, budgetary outlay is around 12 to 13%, which is much less in comparison to other countries. Other countries 30%, 40%. Expenditure will not rise, tax resources will not rise, but government will go on publicity, will aggressive privatization, will indulge in unnecessary. It was tried to decimate the name of Nehru by dismantling planning commission. Again, Rajiv Gandhi by dismantling HRD, name of HRD minister, unnecessarily entering bank merger, unnecessarily going from aggressive privatization of public sector to raise resources, handing the public asset to the private people. Then such are not act of God, such are act of whose act is this? During UPA rule, there was no disinvestment, very less disinvestment, but economy in 3 years there was a continuously growth more than 9%. Question is not a retention power. Question is not how long you have power or how long you live. Question is how you live, how your life is important for the others, how much you rule. It is important. It is not important. It is important how people were benefited in during your regime. It is even 1 day or 5 day or 1 year or 10 years. It is not important. It is important in during that time how people were satisfied, how people have led a happy life. If all index where our position was abysmal and it is declining, economy is contracting, growth is declining, economy has standstill, job is squeezed, then whose responsibility is this to try for this? It is time to invest more in the health expenditure, provide the health facility, help the people to move freely, then any measure can be helpful. Without raising the demand, without raising the purchasing power of people, then there is no meaning of addressing supply side. Our contraction of GDP, if you examine, then there is a decline in private consumption around 24%. Around. That means consumer are spending less. So how the consumer spending will more? Because if they can spend more, if they are able to move freely, and if they have money, government should come from some basic income schemes. Particularly, it should have some everywhere. There should be COVID hospital. There should be COVID testing facility, oxygen. And when there is a shortage of resources, it is high time government should print currency. RBI should print currency. Should say give loans to government, and government should spend more. Government should give more state governments. When everything is uncertain, every policy is failing. Why government is not resorting to expenditure? Why there is so aggressive privatization? Why so aggressive disinvestment? Why merger of banks? Why unnecessary indulge in unnecessary activities? Why though there is no remorse? Why there is no compunction? Why there is no regret? Never admitting that it is demonetization and draconian demonetization, faulty GST and poorly planned lockdown have devastated economy. It is high time to save the society, high time to save the human being. Otherwise, everything is doomed to failure. We are human beings. We must have sympathy, and government must have sympathy for others. Thank you all.